The retirement system doesn't work. The stats would be so much better if it did. Guys, the 401k that you put your money in at work hasn't even been around a full generation. It's a social experiment. The IRA that you're using, same thing, right? So we have a bunch of financial products pitched to us like, fast food at the McDonald's drive-thru, and we're supposed to think that this is how you build wealth, yet none of the people coming out of the drive-thru are financially fit, just like none of the people coming out of the McDonald's drive-thru are physically fit. All right, welcome to Finance Friday. Hope you're doing well. This is Jerry Fetta, CEO and founder of Wealth Dynamics, coming to you once again on a Friday night to talk about money, to talk about wealth, to teach you how to build financial independence and financial freedom, right? Now, for those of you who are maybe just tuning in and introducing or meeting me for the first time, right? The introduction I want to give you really quickly is a little bit about my backstory. Right, very quickly, so I'm Jerry Fetta. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Wealth Dynamics. And so I started out in the financial services industry. Before that, I was flat broke, right? I grew up in poverty when I was 8 years old, all in the same summer. My mom got divorced. My dad got divorced from each other, right? We lost the house. We lost the car. I was homeless on mom's side, homeless on dad's side. I didn't even have an example of what wealth looked like, right? And so, fast forward, into my adult years, and I actually became a financial advisor. I thought, what better way to learn about this than to actually study this as a profession? If I can learn how to do this as a job, as a career, then I definitely will learn about money, right? Because here's the thing I learned about money, and show of hands, if you're watching this or listening to this, if this is real for you, go ahead and give me a heart or a like even, right? Let's stick with that. Just give me a heart or a like if this is real for you. Money is not something that you can not participate in. Finances will drag you around life kicking and screaming if you don't learn them. You can't just not participate, right? Like try just, I'm not going to pay my bills all of a sudden. See what happens, right? Now here's another thing, and I'm going to share this one with you guys because the purpose of these Finance Fridays is to help you solve the exact problem I'm about to share with you, right? The exact problem that I'm about to share with you. And this is something that all of us experience. Right? This is not just me. This is not just wealthy people. The problem that I'm about to share with you is something that all of us experience, right? And so the problem is this. We have really two options with life when it comes to money, okay? Number one, we can have time, but not money, right? Show me a heart or a like if you've had that. You've had time, but not money. You had all the time in the world, but you couldn't afford to do anything with it. You couldn't travel, you couldn't enjoy the things you wanted because you didn't have the money to enjoy the time, right? Or you have the money, but you don't have the time. You can afford the things, you can travel, you can do all this stuff, but you don't actually have time to enjoy or use those things, right? And so people typically have time or money, not both. And the reason is we were never taught to do finances in a way that would create that outcome where we would have both time and money. Right? So option number two instead of option number one, because option number one, you're going to serve the 40 to 60 hour per week life sentence, trading your time for money, 40 years to life, right? And you're going to have just time and no money or just money and no time, right? During your working years, you're going to have money, but you're not going to have time. When you're retired, you're going to have time, but you're not going to have money. And the other thing you're not going to have is youth, right? Nobody talks about that part. You're too old to do anything. Right? So instead of doing that model, we want to learn about financial independence. How do we get both time and money? And so we're going to talk about tonight the key to achieving passive income, right? We want passive income that exceeds our generosity, our expenses, our taxes, and our savings. Okay, now if you're watching this and you're like, well, who is this guy to talk about this? So I wrote a book, it's called The Blueprint to Financial Freedom, right? It's right here, The Blueprint to Financial Freedom, right? Now, I've been a financial advisor since the age of 18, a financial professional, an insurance agent, you name it. I've done all of those things. I've helped clients all around the world build wealth, right? I've been named by Forbes Finance Council as a council member of theirs. I've worked with, some of the top names in finance, Dave Ramsey, Grant Cardone, Pamela Yellen. Inc. 5000 threw us an award last year, named us as a top 100 fastest growing financial company in the country, right? All of that to say, great, there's my stats. But the book that I wrote is not based on my opinion, right? The Blueprint to Financial Freedom, it's based on over a decade of research, studying the top 1% and seeing what did they actually do. What did they actually do, right? Not what are the banks telling us to do. Not what is Wall Street telling us to do. What are the top 1% of wealth actually doing? Right? And so I have a very simple philosophy. If we copy them, probably we're going to get better results. Hey, what's up? Jerry here. I just wanted to give you another reminder. Grab my book, Blueprint to Financial Freedom. It's going to be one of the best books you have ever read on finance. I can promise you that. You're going to love it. It's also a free offer. So if you go to jerryfetta.com/B2F promo, you can get that now. Right? Like if we could figure out what the wealthy people do, because we hear all this stuff. Why do the rich get richer? Right? We have this thing. It's like we can see that the wealthy continue to build wealth and we see the rest of the population struggling and the statistics are showing that. But it's like, okay, well, why is this next statistic true? This is from the Social Security Administration. 5 out of 100 people will be financially secure at retirement age. Now, I want to point out the word financially secure, what's in the name of the title of the Social Security Administration? Security, they're failing at their own job, right? The retirement system doesn't work. The stats would be so much better if it did. Guys, the 401k that you put your money in at work hasn't even been around a full generation. It's a social experiment. The IRA that you're using, same thing, right? So we have a bunch of financial products pitched to us like, fast food at the McDonald's drive-thru, and we're supposed to think that this is how you build wealth, yet none of the people coming out of the drive-thru are financially fit, just like none of the people coming out of the McDonald's drive-thru are physically fit. If you don't want to look what they look like, don't eat their food. If you don't want to have the life they have, don't use the same financial stuff they're using. Right? It's as simple as that. So everything I'm going to share with you tonight is from my book, The Blueprint to Financial Freedom. Okay, everything I'm going to share with you is from this book. Right? And so if you don't have a copy of that, you can use the link in the description to grab a copy, right? But I want to share with you how you can build wealth. Now, if you're watching here right now, I want you to let me know where you're viewing from, right? So if you're live in the webinar, I see some people tuning in. Let me know where you're viewing from. I always like to know who I'm speaking with. I'm in Kansas City right now, coming to you this Friday night. But it's good to see you guys that are here. Let's jump into what I want to talk about from this book. I'm going to break down a concept. Right? Now, I already said this. This is page number 8, right? And I already went over this, but what we're talking about today is passive income. Okay, passive income. So page number 8, wealth breaks down into a simple equation. Here it is. Passive income that exceeds generosity, expenses, taxes, and savings. Okay, so it says passive income is income that I do not trade my time for, that is generated by assets. That's from the book here. Passive income is income that I do not trade my time for, that is generated by assets. Now, let's clear up a few terms already. What does the word passive mean? Like, think about if someone's passive aggressive, like you literally put that word on as a silencer or a muzzle on the word aggressive. If someone's passive, it means they're not really involved. They're not super active. They're not out there doing the thing. Like when someone's passive, they'd rather just let it happen. They're not going to be grabbing things by the horns and making it go. It's like, okay, let it do its thing, right? Now, here's the reason passive income is important. Active income requires your time, it requires your attention, and it requires you to give up something that is finite, your time, in exchange for something that's infinite, money. Right? When you trade time for money, you are making the worst trade on the planet because you're giving up something you can never get back in exchange for something that they literally just type numbers in a screen and it pops up. Like, imagine if you could do that with your time. You could just type numbers in a screen and all of a sudden your life was longer. Right? Like life would be a lot longer, but it would also be less valuable because you would have no scarcity. There'd be no more like, oh, this could be my last moment with this person. There'd be no more like live like you were dying mentality. There'd be none of that because you could just type it in a screen and there it would be. The same thing goes for money. When you can just type money in on a screen and make it appear out of nowhere, the value of it goes down. Right? I was explaining this to my 13-year-old last week, actually. We were talking about what inflation was. So I explained to him, I gave him the example of the Kool-Aid. I was like, if you get a cup of Kool-Aid and it's got a certain amount of Kool-Aid powder and an optimal amount of water, you get a good flavor, don't you? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, good. So what happens if you dump a bunch more water in, but you don't add more powder? Right? The cup fills up. It looks like there's more in there, but when you take a drink, it's not got the same potency level. And the same thing happens with our money. So trading time for money is what we're trying to break out of here. Okay, so passive income is income that I do not trade my time for, that is generated by assets. So I'd want enough of that type of income that all of my bills are paid. I can be generous, I can save and pay taxes without having to trade time for money. So it must exceed those things, right? And this is the thing, and I want to whiteboard this out and give you some examples here, right? But I want you to think about somebody that has passive income, right? And if you can't think of someone, you can use me. I have passive income, right? So what that means is when I have passive income, as an example, I work because I want to, not because I have to, right? Like whether I do something or not, my bills are paid. My money has been saved. My next investments are set up. Everything is going to go whether I act on it or not. That's called passive. Right? Now, if I choose to work, it's because it's something that I want to do. It aligns with my purpose. It's very something that I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this whether I get paid for it or not. You see the difference there? Now, I want you to think about the busiest person you've ever met. Right? And they're busy not because they want to be, but because they have to be. Right? I don't want you to think about a broke person that can't afford anything. I want you to think about the person who literally they earn exactly what they spend. And if they miss a single beat, they're done for. Right? I want you to think about that person, and maybe you've been that person before. How much time do they trade? How much attention do they give up? How much effort does it take for them just to maintain their standard of living? Because every last thing they have has to be worked for first, otherwise they're going to lose it. Right? So here's the other thing about passive income. So I want to go ahead and give you guys the whiteboard on this, right? So I've talked about this before, right? But there's no such thing as literal passive. Passive happens in degrees. So over here we have more passive. Over here we'd have less passive, but what would that be called? That would be called more active, wouldn't it? Right? So we think about more active. Right? What does more active look like? The first example that we gave. Right? What does more passive look like? Money that you literally don't have to do anything for. It's going to come in whether you do something or not. Now, when I say don't have to do anything, that's relative. So my passive income, I still need to check on it. I still need to look at the statement. I still need to pay attention to it. I still need to be somewhat involved, but I'm not going to a job every day. Right? So here's what I would look at on this. I would look at, okay, right now, I'm maybe in a job or a career, I'm on the more active side. If I don't work, money doesn't come in. Right? I need to start making investments that at a gradient work me over so my income is on the more passive side. And that's going to happen one by one by one. Okay, now here's what I want to caution you against. This is the thing that I see people do that's literally killing them when it comes to trying to build passive income. Right? This is something that sets them back. Okay, so I'm going to write the rule here. This is a law of wealth. Never trade new time for old money. Right? What does this mean? Never trade new time for old money. This is a rule that I live by. I will only trade time for $1 once. That's my limit. That's it. Once I have that dollar, I'm going to give it the least amount of time possible. Right? I'll give new dollars new time, but that dollar now has a job, and that dollar's job is not to consume my time, it's to free my time up. Okay, give me a like if you've seen someone who's like, I'm going to become a real estate investor, right? And I'm going to describe this. Tell me after, give me a like if you can identify with someone like this, and maybe this is you, right? I'm going to become a real estate investor because I want passive income. And so what they do is they start studying immediately, which is the right thing to do. Study, learn, get the information, get the education, right? And so they go in and they're like, okay, good. So I'm going to start doing rental properties and fix and flips and all this stuff. And immediately they become a real estate investor, but they fail to realize there's two types of investors. There's active investors and there's passive investors. So they're like, okay, good, I'm gonna start investing in real estate, and they take money that they've already earned, old money, and they begin to trade new time for it. I'm gonna go look at properties now. I'm gonna meet with the realtor. I'm gonna meet with the lender. I'm gonna meet with the title guy. All of a sudden, I'm trading new time for old money. I'm gonna then fix up the property and rehab it, and I'm gonna start, managing it and dealing with the tenants and doing this and doing that. Guys, that is not passive income. That is not passive income. Right? What is passive income? Let me give you an example of passive income. These are my favorite types right now that I'm using, right? First one is called equity and help, right? This is a form of seller finance real estate, right? This is something I do. We help my clients do it. It's probably my favorite way to invest right now. This is called seller finance real estate. And if you think about on real estate, who makes money on every real estate property no matter what? Not the owner. The owner could lose, right? The bank does. You could say that the tax man does too, because they're always going to collect the property tax, right? But let's just talk about the bank for a second. Have you ever wondered why when you get into a real estate investment, the banker is never like, hey, we'll lower the interest rate if you let me partner on the deal with you? No, they don't do that. That's never been a thing. They're never like, we'll give you 2% less if you give us 10% equity. They don't want anything to do with the property. Why is that? If the property was such a good idea, why does the bank want nothing to do with it? Right? Banks make more money than almost anybody in the world. So if there's money to be made, the banks are going to figure it out. And I'm telling you, they're not really interested in your rental property. So why is that? Okay. The bank, they own what's called the paper, the mortgage. They're going to make principal and interest every month for the rest of that property's amortization on the loan or until it sells, right? And when it does sell and they get paid off, they're going to take the money back out and do the same thing again. And they continue to make passive income from the interest on that mortgage, right? I want to make money like a bank. Okay, so with equity and help, what is happening here is you're working with a company that does turnkey. They are picking properties. These are properties that are either bulk rentals, or they are foreclosures, like they're buying on them at auction, right? So these are very cheap single family homes, right? I believe that this is a insulated market, right? Someone that's living in a home with a $600 to $800 a month mortgage payment, they're not really having recessions and depressions. Right? They're going to work at the gas station or the grocery store or wherever, no matter what happens with the economy. They're not going to ride the ups and downs the way that an upper middle class family would, right? So they're making $50,000, $60,000 a year, and they're going to no matter what. During the pandemic, they were considered essential workers, right? So you've got families that are going to move into houses like this. Typically, for an investor, this is anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000 price point to get into a house. Well, hi there. I bet you're wondering why I'm holding a golden octopus. Well, the reason is you should get a copy of my book, The Blueprint to Financial Freedom, and that may or may not explain to you why there's a golden octopus, but it will help you become financially independent, which if we're honest with each other, it's a little more important. Now, I love this. Here's the thing most people don't realize. If you're watching this and you're thinking, okay, I want to invest. Let's say you put in $100,000 into an investment. You put in $100,000 and you're like, okay, good. So I've got my $100,000. It's there. I'm now an investor. I'm going to build wealth, right? Okay, wrong. You're going to get like $1,000 a month on that. And if you divide 100,000 by 1,000, it's going to take you 100 months to get your principal back, right? You can't do it with just one property. You need many. So the faster you can reinvest, the more growth you're going to get. In Wall Street, they call this compounding interest. Right? So the idea that you have your principal and then your interest and then your principal and your interest, and it builds like a staircase. Well, if you do real estate and you do, okay, I got my principal and then you do your interest and it takes you this long before you can get the next little staircase to reinvest, right? You're not going to be able to invest very much money. There's going to be a lot of sitting around and waiting. And if you're doing rentals and real estate, the market changes quite a bit. The prices come up. So it's about how quickly can I get the next property? How fast can I get the next property? Because if each of these properties pays me somewhere between $400 to $600 a month, and I only need 40 to 60 to get into it, right? And then I start really supplementing with my active income and using the banking system that I talk about called the sacred account, where you're getting 20 to 30% more overall growth on your principal while it's out working for you. You pay yourself back. You're getting into the properties sooner, right? You want high yields on low-priced assets. High yields on low-priced assets, right? So I really love this idea. So on Equity and Help, the company that we work with is called Equity and Help, right? So what they're doing is they're picking out the properties for me. Already I'm beating the real estate investor. I'm not trading new time for old money. I don't need to go look at properties, right? There is no realtor to meet with. I'm the bank, so there's not a lender. The title is already taken care of for me. The family is already picked and vetted. All I need to do is wait, right? So they put the family into the home for me, so I don't need to do that part. I don't need to screen the renters and this and that, right? Now here's the beauty. That family is making a mortgage payment to me, so this is called a land contract. A land contract, right? Now, most of the time when we have real estate, we're doing rentals, right? And so we own the house, we get the depreciation, we get the tax write-offs. It's like a basket of tricks. You get 5 or 6 different things happening for you, right? None of them happening at a super high level, but they're all happening at a low to mediocre level, right? And what I mean by that on real estate, right? You're either going to get appreciation, or high income. You usually don't get both, right? If you're getting, tax depreciation on the property, you're going to need to pay the taxes on the back end when you exit. There's a trade-off for everything when you do rental real estate. Okay, with seller finance, I'm buying the property for 40 to 60,000. The company, Equity and Help, they're doing all of the work to get it up and running, get it occupied. When they sell it to the family, they're going to sell it for typically 15 to 30% more than I paid. I'm going to charge 12% on the mortgage. Okay, I'm going to collect 5 to 10% down payment. Right? And that 12% is calculated off of the sale price. So I want you to think about the math here. We bought it for 40 and we're going to sell it to them for 55. They give me 5 or 10% down, right? So 2,000 or 5,000, whatever the number is, right? And they're going to pay me 12% of the remaining $50,000 balance. I'm making 12% on 50,000, but I only put in 40. That's leverage. Right? The property is selling for more than I paid. I'm instantly getting an equity bump and it increases my yield because 12% of 40 is a lot less than 12% of 50. So it's giving me that little boost on my income, on my yield. I love that about this. Right? Now, the land contract, what does this mean? Essentially, this is like rent to own. They're going to be making mortgage payments, but my name stays on the title until they pay off the property. Once they pay off the property, if they pay off the property, I then am done. They own the house, they paid me off in full, right? Now, most families in America don't pay off their house. What are they going to do? They're going to refinance it, they're going to sell it. A small percentage of people are going to leave the property behind and get foreclosed on and lose it. Whatever happens, happens on that. But the key here is this is fueling a form of passive income. Passive, right? So for those of you that are watching where you're like, I want to build passive income, and then you're instantly like, so I'm going to go be a real estate investor, right? I want you to realize that you've got really 3 options here. Okay, so first one is rentals. We just talked about this. You've got rentals. Second one is you've got someone else's fund, which is not even real estate. It's someone else's private business. Right? And then you've got seller finance, which is what we've been talking about with Equity and Help. Okay? So with rentals, we talked about that. You're going to be trading time. Right? You're going to be trading time, period. You will look at houses, you will meet with realtors, you will spend your new time on old money. Right? This is the number one 100% guaranteed way to do that. To spend new time on old money. Now, if you go in someone else's fund, number one, you're not investing in real estate. You're investing in shares of an LLC. Okay? That's someone else's business. You better hope they got a good business. Right? It's a little bit like trading kids with someone. Like you've got your money, you know what's there. Especially if it's in the sacred account, you're like, I know this thing pretty well. Right? Right? Then you trade it for someone else's business and you don't know how they raise their business. You don't know how they run it. You don't know how they manage it. right? So it's like if you have your kid and you're like, okay, well, I know he doesn't pick his nose, he doesn't wet the bed, I taught him all this stuff, and you're like, all of a sudden I'm going to swap him out for someone else's, right? You better hope they did a good job. Okay, sometimes it's better to know the devil you have than the devil you don't. Okay, so this is going to be usually passive, right? But there's also a 70% chance it's going to go broke. You just lose it. It doesn't make money for you at all. 70% chance on private funds that they go broke. The other thing is you're going to be getting typically a 4 to 6% yield because they're going to pay you like a preferred dividend. They've got to keep their fees. If they're doing private lending, sure, maybe they might pay you 8 to 12%, but you need to be asking yourself, do they have the financial statement to back up that 8 to 12%? Okay, because I've lost money on that one before with people I trusted. We'll pay you 8 to 12%, and then it turns out the 8 to 12% isn't substantiated by a balance sheet and by a profit and loss statement, and so that's only as good as their word is because the money's not there. Okay, so on seller finance, it can be 100% passive, right? It's guaranteed as an asset because you will have a house there no matter what. It's a guaranteed asset from the standpoint that there is a hard asset. Right? You're looking at a 10 to sometimes I get up to 14% yield on my properties. Right? You're getting 15 to 30% appreciation right off the bat because of that lock-in on the sale price. Right? Think about that. If you own a rental property, like how long are you really going to own a rental property for? 10 years? Like think about that. If you're going to buy a rental, 10 years, 15 years, 5 years, what is it going to be? Okay? The average home is going to appreciate at 3 to 5% per year. Okay? So if you're going to hold it for 6 years, it will have appreciated 30%. You got to wait though. On this one, and you don't get cash flow on that appreciation. Your income doesn't go up just because the house is worth more, right? On this one, you have the locked-in appreciation on the front end. Your income, because the yield is based off of that locked-in front end, like I talked about, the excess increase on the sale price, you get the appreciation now. I'd rather have it in today's dollars than tomorrow's dollars. Tomorrow's dollars are worth less, right? Plus, it increases my yield. Okay, so I wanted to share this concept with you because the passive income thing, it's such a focus for people. And I have clients and members who are like all about it. I am too. I love investing for passive income. But guys, the rule is never trade new time for old money. So if you're investing for passive income and you find yourself trading time for it, it's not passive income. It's just not, right? Now, the other thing is you want to keep it simple. Here's the last mistake I'm going to share with you that investors make. They invest in 1 or 2 deals and they're like, good, now let me try something new, right? No. Invest in the thing that works. If I run a business, if I run a McDonald's franchise that makes money selling hamburgers and French fries, right? Why would I ever be like, okay, I've got the hamburgers and French fries down. Let me try chicken now. Let me try hot dogs. Let me try tacos, right? But investors do this. You'll do something that works, and then you'll be like, okay, I'm no longer interested and excited about a brand new shiny object. So what else do you got? Okay, I learned that the hard way too, guys. Like the one that works is the one you want to repeat. Investing is such a boring, simple, repetitive game. Why? Because an investing portfolio should be run like a business. And a business should be a boring, simple game. It should be the same thing over and over and over. And if it's not, you don't have a business, you have a circus. Okay, Andrew Carnegie is quoted with disagreeing with the don't put all your eggs in one basket thing. He's like, no, actually put all of your eggs in one basket and then make sure nothing happens to that basket. So that would go for diversifying into other assets because of risk. I don't know what I'm doing, therefore I should go put more things into my portfolio that I also don't know how they work. That doesn't make any sense because thing number 1, I don't understand. Let me get 10 of them. That will protect me from risk. Let me now have 10 things I don't understand instead of 1 thing I don't understand. Right? That's how most people invest. Distraction is the same thing. Oh, I tried this one already, let me try something new. Right? So guys, in summary tonight, if you're investing for passive income, never trade new time for old money. If you worked for it, if you have it, if it's on you, Never, ever, ever put it into something that will require you to trade your time for it again. Literally, it's a circus. You made the money, and then you're going to work for the money that you already made, and then you're going to make the money that you already made, and then invest the money so you can work for the money that you already made, so you can make the money that you already made, so you can invest the money that you already made into something, so you can make more money that you already made. It's a circle. You can't do it. It has to be a straight line. Like you go 1 house, 2 house, 3 house, 4 house, 5 house, straight line each time. And you take your active income and you funnel it through that straight line. So guys, that's what I have for you today. Now, if you're watching this live or on the replay, we do have a really special offer for you tonight. So if you're watching this right now, we are actually giving out a free consultation with me. Scan the QR code. Right now, we're doing a special with the wealth potential analysis. So if you've read my book, you've watched my content, you're interested in learning more about how you can build financial independence, how you can build wealth, scan the QR code. That's where you can book a free consultation with me. You do need to fill out the wealth potential analysis first, right? On this wealth potential analysis, we're going to deep dive into a questionnaire that you fill out. It's going to produce a graph just like the one you see. And that's going to tell us everything we need to know about your finances. And I can coach you through from there on what you need to do to make improvements, right? So if you're interested, scan that QR code. Now, if you're not ready to meet and you just want to get the book, you can go to jerryfetta.com/B2F promo. That's where you can get the Blueprint to Financial Freedom. You can read that. Then you can come back, scan the QR code and meet with me, right? But guys, that is what I want to give you tonight. That has been our Finance Friday. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you next week. Hey, this is Jerry Fetta here. I want to thank you for watching my video, watching my content. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to learn more about the Blueprint to Financial Freedom and how you can achieve passive income that exceeds your savings, your expenses, your taxes, your generosity, and build wealth like the top 1%, I want to encourage you, grab a copy of my book, The Blueprint to Financial Freedom. You can go to jerryfetta.com/B2F promo, or you can click the link in the description of the video here. The copy is free. You cover your shipping. We'll send the book out to you, and we'll send you an email with a bunch of great bonus material also for free. Get the book, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you on my next content.